Hey folks, Darren here, Mr. Sandsman. Welcome back to the channel. I wanted to talk to you about a movie that I saw some years ago now, probably about 7 or 8 years ago. I was off work sick and I texted a friend of mine and said, look, can you recommend any horrors that are on streaming at the moment? And he texted me back and said, there's a film on Netflix right now called Hush. Now, little did we know that that was by a director, Mike Flanagan, who would go on to do bigger and better things. But given I was a fan of movies like The Strangers and Don't Breathe and Inside, the French movie Inside, which I think is one of the best home invasion movies, this was right up my alley. And so it stayed on streaming for a long time, and over the years, people kind of started to discover it as Mike Flanagan made a name for himself. And then last year, I think Scream Factory released it as a 4K edition, and I missed out on it. I completely missed out on it. But just this last few weeks, they've brought out a Steelbook version, which I actually prefer the look of more than the 4K that they brought out. So, a 4K Steelbook version, which is, there we go, Hush. I love the artwork on the front there. There you go. The kind of mask in the middle of the ear. For those of you that don't know what Hush is about, and I'm surprised if you don't, but it's Mike Flanagan's movie that he wrote with his wife, Kate Siegel. Kate Siegel stars as Maddie in the film, and she plays a deaf mute woman who's been affected with this ailment since a childhood illness. And so what they do in this is they play with sound and vision and ambient noise and all the different senses to conjure up all our fears with what's going to happen in this film. And what I like about it is, in the vein of Halloween, there is absolutely no motive for what happens in this film. This woman lives out in the woods on her own, and a killer just turns up, kills her neighbor, who pops around to see her, and then it's a kind of battle from beginning to end for Maddie to survive. Now, he doesn't know that Maddie is actually a deaf mute woman, but when he figures it out, he starts to use sound and silence as a weapon against her. And so she's caught up in her house, relying on her wits, visual clues, and resourcefulness to survive the night. Now, you can tell that Flanagan is heavily influenced by Halloween with this film, as I said earlier. And if I had one criticism about it, it is that the killer, known as the Man, is probably unmasked a little bit too early in the movie. I think it's like around the 20-minute mark that he's actually unmasked. And so it makes John Gallagher, who plays the Man, it makes his role more difficult to kind of establish himself as a more threatening force, given that we can see his face. Now, he's not an intimidating looking guy, but what he does is he adopts a persona that we do find quite intimidating. Now, this movie was made for about $1 million, and as I said, there's no box office information because it did go straight to Netflix, but it was really highly thought of by the critics, who have given it around about a 91% of Rotten Tomatoes. For me, it's one of Flanagan's best film. I love a simple premise. I love a premise where there's no motive or meaning behind what's going on. I think that makes things even more terrifying when you do that. Like, there are some fans out there that have theories that perhaps the guy found Maddie on the dating app that she talks about on there, but no, that's not the case. Flanagan stated that he wanted the Man to have no motive whatsoever for what he's doing, and that for me makes it even more terrifying. Now, I've watched this film probably around about 4 or 5 times now, and it seems to get better with every watch. But with this 4K Steelbook that came out recently, and I think it was the same on the 4K standard release that came out last year, Flanagan has created what he calls the Shush Cut for this film. Now, the Shush Cut is black and white, and I have to say it works even better than the color version of the film. It makes it even more claustrophobic, even more terrifying looking. And what we get is a version of the film where Flanagan's downplayed the music and used more ambient noise. He's lifted up the background noise to the film to make things more impactful in terms of what the killer might be hearing or Maddie might be sensing throughout the film. And it really does work a treat. I watched it with my headphones on a really loud volume, and it really helps with this film. It makes the film more intense, it makes the jump scares more effective, but also the black and white aesthetic is not just he's taken the color away, he's really worked to make some of those really unsettling shots that you get in the film, like the moment where Sarah's hand's banging on the door, and some of the shots where you can see the man in the background, kind of in the way that you see Michael Myers, more terrifying. So I was really stunned by what they did with this and how the Shush Cut really does work. And I think a lot of fans of Hush as well agree with me on that. There are some that prefer the colorized version, but for me, there was a hell of a lot more impact with it in black and white. And it seemed to feel like a different movie altogether, with the little kind of tweaks and nuances that Flanagan's done with the sound and the picture. So if you haven't seen the Hush Cut, if you have this or the original 4K release, which came out back end of last year, I think, and you haven't checked out the Hush Cut yet, folks, take a look at it, because I think you'll be surprised at how effective it actually is. So anyway, let's have a look at this in a bit more detail. It's 4 discs. What you actually get is you get the 4K Ultra HD original version of the film, then you get a 4K Shush version of the film, and you also get a Blu-ray version of the original cut of the film and the Shush version, and then a disc which just houses all the extras. And there are a lot of extras on this. There are commentaries. I believe there's actually a video commentary on this as well, where you can see, as you're watching the film, I think you can see Flanagan and his wife talking you through the movie and telling you everything you need to know about it. Now, I'm really looking forward to kind of getting stuck into that and checking that out. But I did watch the Shush Cut this morning, and I was blown away by it, folks. I think you'll be really impressed if you get a chance to watch it. But just digging into this film really fascinates me about how they felt a minimal idea about a deaf mute woman trapped alone in her house could be explored so much that you would get minimal dialogue and maximum tension throughout this film. And it really is quite nasty in parts as well. I mean, the killer wanders around with a crossbow, and there are other kind of peripheral characters that come into the film throughout that meet a sticky end, but it goes right down to the wire with this, and the ending is incredibly tense and unsettling. I think you'll really enjoy it if you haven't seen the film. And doing a bit of digging on this as well, apparently the black and white version was Flanagan's original intention. He wanted it to be that way. But I guess the suits at Netflix had a different idea, and he had to do it in color for whatever reason. I also think there were some limited public screenings of the Shush Cut as well, which apparently went really well. And as I said before, fans really did seem to dig it, and some favor it as the better cut of the movie. But have you seen the Shush Cut? I'd really like to know what your thoughts are on it. I know a similar thing's been done before with the likes of The Mist, and I think Godzilla as well. The 2023 Godzilla movie had the same treatment as well, where it was released in black and white. For me, now and again, if you have the original color version, a black and white version is really interesting to explore, and sometimes does really change things with the film. Now, I loved this film to begin with anyway. The Shush Cut, I think, works better, but I'm really glad that I have the choice between the two of them, because it's one of those movies that I think gets overlooked a lot of the time. And for me, it's a movie that I've repeatedly gone back to and enjoyed even more each time I watch it. I think he did a really stellar job for one of his earliest films that he made. So that's it. Scream Factory's Hush Steelbook. 4-discer, definitely recommended, folks, if you're a fan of the film or if you want to take a chance on it. I think those of you that are home invasion fans, slasher fans, fans of Halloween, which this is obviously heavily influenced on, I think you'll enjoy it. I think it's worth a gamble. Definitely one to try and pick up as Shout Factory go through a bit of a difficult time at the moment. So that's it, folks. Thank you for watching. I'll be back soon with another video. Don't forget to check out the Horror of the 1980s this Thursday, live, 10 p.m. UK time, 5 p.m. EST. Live vote on 28 80s classic horror movies. We've been doing this now for the last 10, 12 weeks, and it's finally got down to this final. And I can't thank you enough for the support that you've shown both the channel and this special series that I've been doing. And I am working on something else to do after the horror of the 80s finishes, and I can't wait to share it with you. So I look forward to seeing you then, and I'll be back soon with another video, I'm sure. Cheers, guys. See you later.